You know, when you notice a weird, itchy red circle somewhere on your skin, like something that looks suspiciously like ringworm, the immediate human instinct is usually just, well, pure, unadulterated panic.
Right. It really is.
And right after that panic comes the overwhelming urge to just like absolutely nuke the site from orbit. You just want the strongest, harshest chemical you can find to obliterate whatever microscopic thing has decided to grow on you.
It is, it's a completely understandable reflex. I mean, we've been conditioned to view infections as a literal war.
Yeah, exactly.
And well, in a war, you want to bring in the heaviest artillery available. But when it comes to the incredibly delicate ecosystem of the human skin, dropping a chemical bomb is, it's often the worst possible strategy you can employ.
Which brings us to our mission for today. Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're unpacking a really comprehensive guide from Era Organics, written by Nikki Chase. We're looking into a highly effective, yet surprisingly gentle treatment for ringworm. It's a compound called hypochlorous acid, or HOCl.
It's a phenomenal molecule. And understanding how it works, it actually changes the way you think about healing in general.
Because dealing with fungal skin infections can be incredibly frustrating for you. I mean, it feels dirty, it itches like crazy.
Oh, the itching is the worst part.
Right. And it leads people to try remedies that cause intense pain and damage. So our goal for you today is to cut through all of that noise. We want to understand the actual biological mechanisms of this treatment.
Yeah.
And discover why an ingredient with the scary-sounding word acid right there in its name is actually, a soothing skin savior.
Though, before we jump into the mechanics of cellular destruction and skin repair, I do need to lay down a quick disclaimer.
Oh, right, of course.
While we are thoroughly exploring the information provided in this Era Organics guide, this content is for informational purposes only. It hasn't been evaluated by the FDA, and this discussion is not a substitute for professional medical advice.
Right.
If you have a persistent or severe medical issue, you always need to consult your doctor.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can really appreciate why hypochlorous acid works so beautifully, we need to understand the biology of why our frantic first instincts usually fail so miserably.
Ah, yes. The desperate home remedy approach.
Exactly. The guide directly tackles the stuff people reach for when they panic. And the big one, the one that makes dermatologists absolutely shudder, is bleach.
Yeah. It's terrifying.
The thought process seems to be like, well, bleach kills that weird mold on my bathroom tiles, so it should definitely kill this fungus on my arm.
Which is just a catastrophic misunderstanding of human biology. I mean, bleach is entirely unsuitable and, frankly, unsafe for human skin.
Because it's so harsh.
Exactly. It's a highly alkaline, caustic disinfectant. Human skin, on the other hand, is naturally slightly acidic. We have something called an acid mantle that protects us.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So when you apply a highly alkaline chemical like bleach to living tissue, especially tissue that is already inflamed and compromised by a fungal infection, you're just causing severe chemical burns. You're completely obliterating the skin barrier that you desperately need to actually fight off the infection.
So you're basically bulldozing your own defenses. Bleach is obviously a terrible idea. But here's the one that really caught my attention. Hand sanitizer and rubbing alcohol?
Right. The go-to for everything.
Yeah. We've all been aggressively trained to think alcohol-based hand sanitizer is the ultimate undefeated germ killer. I mean, we had bottles of it in every room, in our cars, in our bags.
Everywhere.
Wait, we've all been trained to think alcohol-based hand sanitizer is the ultimate germ killer. Are you saying a fungus essentially just shrugs it off while our skin suffers the collateral damage?
That is precisely what happens. And what's fascinating here is that it comes down to cellular structure. Hand sanitizers and rubbing alcohol are specifically formulated to target bacteria and viruses.
Okay.
They work by denaturing proteins, basically unraveling the structure of a typical bacterium.
Yeah.
But fungi, like the various species that cause ringworm, are completely different organisms. Well, they're eukaryotes. They are incredibly resilient because their cell walls are made of a tough substance called chitin.
Wait, chitin, like, what insect exoskeletons are made of?
The exact same stuff.
That's wild.
Yeah, fungi have literal armor. So when you dump rubbing alcohol onto ringworm, The alcohol cannot effectively penetrate that chitin wall to kill the fungal spores inside. It just bounces off the armor.
Oh, I see.
But what it does do is immediately flash evaporate all the essential moisture and natural lipids out of your own skin.
So you aren't killing the ringworm at all. You're just creating a dry, cracked, burning, irritated landscape where your skin barrier is completely compromised.
Exactly.
Which probably just makes it much easier for the fungal infection to take hold or, dig in deeper or spread to those new microscopic cracks.
You're punishing the host, meaning you, without actually harming the invader. And that highlights why a targeted, gentle approach is so necessary. You need something that possesses the specific molecular key to unlock and destroy the fungal pathogen without reading your own skin cells as collateral damage.
Which is the perfect pivot to the star of the show, hypochlorous acid. We know why the harsh chemicals fail. They don't have the right key to get past the fungal armor.
Right.
But before we get into how HOCl destroys that armor, there is a fact in this source material that completely blew my mind. It totally recontextualizes this entire chemical. Hypochlorous acid isn't some synthetic concoction dreamed up in a lab to kill things.
No, not at all. It is fundamentally biological. Hypochlorous acid is actually naturally produced by the human body's own immune system.
That is wild to me.
Specifically, your white blood cells, a type called neutrophils, produce HOCl as a first line of defense.
Wow.
When your body detects an invading pathogen, whether it's a bacteria or a fungus, these white blood cells rush to the site, engulf the invader, and essentially manufacture a tiny burst of hypochlorous acid to destroy it from the inside.
So when we talk about putting this acid on our skin, we aren't introducing an alien chemical. We're literally just supplementing the exact same microscopic weapon our body's already trying to manufacture at the site of the infection.
Which perfectly explains why it doesn't sting, burn, or destroy the skin barrier the way rubbing alcohol does. Your body recognizes it. It's an endogenous molecule.
Yeah.
It's engineered by nature to operate safely within the delicate environment of human tissue.
That changes the whole perspective.
Yeah.
So how does this microscopic weapon actually work against that tough chitin armor of the fungus? The guide breaks down the healing process into 4 distinct biological steps.
Right, the 4 steps.
The first is obviously killing the pathogen.
Right. When the HOCl solution makes contact with the fungus, it induces a state called oxidative stress. Because HOCl is a neutral molecule, meaning it doesn't have a strong positive or negative charge, it can easily slip past the defenses of the fungal cell wall.
Slipping past the armor.
Exactly. Once it gets inside, it aggressively steals electrons from the fungus's vital structures. It oxidizes them. This causes the structural proteins in the chitin walls to literally rupture and collapse, inactivating the fungal spores almost immediately upon contact.
Okay, so instead of dropping a chemical bomb that destroys everything like rubbing alcohol does, HOCl is more like a microscopic demolition crew that specifically targets the structural walls of the fungus while simultaneously laying down new bricks for healthy skin.
That is a much more accurate way to visualize it. It clears the destructive element off the site, leaving a clean slate, which leads us to the second step of healing, reducing inflammation.
Because it's usually super red and swollen.
Yeah. Once the active fungal growth is halted by that structural collapse, the localized anti-inflammatory properties of the HOCl kick in. When you have ringworm, your body is sending massive amounts of blood and immune cells to the area, causing that characteristic raised, angry ring.
Right.
HOCl calms that localized immune response down, which dramatically drops the pain and, crucially, the itchiness.
Stopping that itch has to be priority number 1 for anyone dealing with this, which ties perfectly into the third step, preventing the spread.
Scratching is the absolute fastest way people spread a localized fungal infection to other parts of their body.
Oh, for sure.
You scratch the ring on your arm, get spores under your fingernails, and then touch your face or your leg. Or worse, you introduce aggressive bacteria from your fingernails into the broken skin, creating a secondary bacterial infection.
Oh, a nightmare.
Applying HOCl creates a sterile antimicrobial barrier. It prevents the fungus from migrating outward, and it stops those opportunistic bacteria from setting up shop.
And then the fourth step is accelerating the actual healing. The guide notes that because the pathogen is gone and the inflammation is managed, HOCl effectively supports skin cell regeneration.
It does.
The damaged tissue can finally repair itself without being under constant attack, usually restoring healthy skin within about 14 days.
And this mechanism is heavily backed by clinical observation. The source text references studies by Nunes et al., published in 2016, which rigorously analyzed the strong antimicrobial properties of this stabilized substance against serious skin pathogens.
But wait, this brings up a huge question about the chemistry of this stuff. If HOCl is this highly reactive molecule that wants to aggressively steal electrons and cause oxidative stress, how do you put it in a bottle?
Ah, good point.
Right, wouldn't it just react with the plastic or break down in a few hours? What amazed me in this guide is how simple the formula is to solve that problem. There are only 3 precise ingredients in an HOCl spray.
It's a beautiful piece of elegant chemistry. The primary active agent is the hypochlorous acid. But as you pointed out, HOCl is inherently volatile. It wants to react. If you just leave it alone, it degrades very quickly.
But the second ingredient is just purified water.
The water acts as neutral carrier and diluent. It dilutes the active molecule to a safe therapeutic concentration. It ensures that when you spray it, you get an even distribution over the skin without overwhelming the tissue or causing irritation.
And the third ingredient is sodium chloride, just everyday salt.
But it serves a vital chemical function. The sodium chloride forces a chemical equilibrium within the liquid. It acts as an anchor, stabilizing the mixture for long-term use so those volatile HOCl molecules don't break down prematurely.
That makes total sense.
That salt is the entire reason this natural biological defense mechanism can sit on a shelf for months and still be perfectly active the moment you spray it onto your skin.
Acid, water, and salt. It really is elegant. So we know the science of the demolition crew, and we know how it survives in the bottle. But understanding the exact science of how it works naturally leads you to wonder how to use it properly to maximize that cell wall destruction.
Right.
The guide details a very specific 4-step application routine, and it seems like skipping any of these steps sabotages the whole process.
The protocol is straightforward, but the order of operations matters immensely. Step 1. You must clean the infected area first.
With, like, regular soap.
A mild soap, yes. You gently wash away any surface dirt, dead skin, or heavy natural oils, and then gently pat the skin dry with a clean towel.
Because if you have a layer of heavy oil or dirt on the skin, the HOCl is going to waste its oxidative energy reacting with that dirt instead of reaching the fungus.
Exactly. You want a clear path to the pathogen. Step 2 is the actual application. You spray the HOCl liquid directly onto the ringworm patch. But a critical detail the guide emphasizes is that you need to thoroughly saturate the area.
Make it visibly wet.
Yes.
Ah.
And you cannot just spray the red ring. You have to spray the surrounding healthy-looking skin to prevent the spread.
Why the perimeter, though? If the fungus is only where the red circle is, aren't we wasting the spray?
Fungal infections are deceptive. That red circle is just where the immune system is actively fighting the largest concentration of the fungus.
Oh, I see.
But fungi grow by sending out microscopic, invisible threads well beyond the visible border. If you don't treat the surrounding area, those invisible threads will just start a new circle next door.
Okay, that makes so much sense. So you establish a perimeter defense. Then comes step 3, which is where I would definitely mess up. The guide says you have to wait 10 minutes to let the liquid air dry completely. Do not cover it immediately.
That is the most common mistake people make.
Yeah.
The oxidative stress we talked about, the collapsing of the fungal walls, takes a little bit of time to execute.
You can't just put clothes right over it.
No, if you immediately cover the damp area with a tight bandage or clothing, you trap the moisture, and fungi thrive in dark, humid, trapped environments. You also prevent the natural evaporation process. You have to let it breathe.
Let the oxygen assist the process.
Right.
And then step 4 is consistency.
Yeah.
You repeat this entire process 3 to 5 times a day.
Fungi are stubborn. You have to continually apply that oxidative pressure so the spores cannot recover and replicate.
Yeah.
If you follow that consistent routine, the timelines are very promising. You should see noticeable improvement, meaning reduced redness and swelling in about 3 to 7 days for mild cases. For a severe case, you're looking at 1 to 2 weeks.
Which brings up a really important nuance about the product itself. The guide breaks down different available concentrations of HOCl. There's a 0.01% concentration for mild cases or highly sensitive areas. There's a 0.05% for moderate cases, which acts as a sort of balance of effectiveness and gentleness. And then there's a stronger 0.1% for severe or persistent cases. Now, if I'm annoyed by a rash, my instinct is to just buy the strongest stuff available. Is more always better here, or should we be careful with that 0.1% concentration?
This raises an important question about pacing the treatment. More is not always better. While the 0.1% concentration absolutely provides stronger antimicrobial effects, the guide explicitly warns that it needs to be applied with caution to monitor for irritation.
But if it's the exact same chemical our white blood cells make, why would a higher concentration be a problem?
Because healing tissue requires a very delicate moisture balance. Yes, HOCl is infinitely more gentle than alcohol. However, a higher concentration still alters the pH and the oxidative environment of the skin.
So it can dry it out.
Exactly. If you aggressively spray the strongest formulation 5 times a day, the excessive oxidation will start to over-dry the new healthy skin cells. You risk triggering an irritation response that slows down the healing. The philosophy here is to use the lowest effective dose.
You want to coax the skin back to health by supporting it, not shock it into submission. And once you grasp that philosophy, that this is a gentle, targeted biological tool, it massively expands the scope of what this compound can do.
It really does.
Because its gentle nature allows it to play nicely with other treatments, and it can be used across a huge variety of other skin issues, far beyond just ringworm.
It's a highly collaborative treatment. For example, it doesn't interact negatively with antifungal creams at all.
In fact, the source material suggests using HOCl actually makes those secondary antifungal creams perform better.
It does. Think about applying a thick cream onto an actively inflamed, dirty, pathogen-covered patch of skin. The cream has to fight through a layer of biological debris just to reach the tissue.
Gross, but true.
But if you spray the HOCl first and let it completely air dry, you effectively cleanse the area and reduce the inflammation. You prep the canvas. When you subsequently apply the secondary antifungal cream, it can be far more effective.
You just have to ensure the spray is completely dry first so the liquids don't mix.
Yeah.
But while it plays nicely with prescriptions, the guide highlights a few things you definitely cannot combine it with. You must avoid using harsh chemical exfoliants, artificial fragrances, or strong dyes.
That goes back to the compromised skin barrier. When your skin is actively fighting a fungus, it's highly sensitive. If you introduce a synthetic fragrance or an exfoliating acid at the same time as the HOCl, the combination can easily trigger allergic reactions. You want to keep the healing environment simple.
Keep it incredibly simple. And because the core ingredients are so pure, the guide highlights that it is remarkably safe for populations that usually struggle with harsh treatments, like children and people with severe skin sensitivities.
Extremely safe, yes.
They do recommend doing a quick patch test on a small area of a kid's skin just to be safe, but universally it's non-toxic.
Because it's naturally produced by the body and lacks heavy preservatives and caustic alkalinity, the immune system simply doesn't flag it as a threat.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because it is so safe, this isn't just a single-use product for ringworm outbreaks. The guide mentions the Era Organics Happy Skin Spray, which costs around $17.99, and points out how accessible this multi-tool of skincare is.
When you understand the mechanism neutralizing pathogens while reducing inflammation, the applications become endless.
We're talking about basic wound care, cleaning daily scrapes without that agonizing stinging. We're talking about treating acne.
It is incredibly effective for acne because it actively kills the acne-causing bacteria while simultaneously shrinking the swelling.
And it's safe enough to spray right around your eyes for minor irritations. People use it to soothe eczema and psoriasis flare-ups. And this one really got me. It is widely used in oral care.
Yes, as a mouthwash.
Dentists recommend HOCl mouthwashes to prevent gingivitis, the leap from treating a tough fungal infection on your foot to safely swishing it around your gums. That versatility is incredible. It's even used in post-surgical care.
If you look at that entire list, it all traces back to the exact same biological mechanism. It's safely eliminating the invading pathogen via oxidative stress while providing a calm, sterile environment for the host tissue to regenerate.
It really makes you evaluate every other bottle of harsh chemicals sitting in your bathroom. So to pull all of this together and synthesize the key takeaways for you, hypochlorous acid is a scientifically backed, highly gentle, and versatile alternative to the harsh home remedies we usually panic reach for.
Definitely.
Instead of burning your skin, it specifically targets and attacks the cell walls of fungi. It soothes inflammation, and it's safe enough to use on sensitive skin and children, as well as for various other ailments from acne to eye irritation.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the profound lesson here is that effective medical treatment isn't about attacking the skin with harsh chemicals. True healing comes from strategically supporting the body's natural healing environment while targeting the specific pathogen.
So what does this all mean for us moving forward? It leaves us with a really fascinating thought to ponder. Since hypochlorous acid is a substance naturally produced by the human body to fight off infection, What other natural internal biological defenses might we eventually be able to safely bottle up and use topically?
That's the real question.
Right. Are we looking at a future where we can completely replace our reliance on harsh synthetic chemicals by simply borrowing the microscopic tools our own bodies have already perfected?
It is an incredibly exciting frontier for the future of medicine.
Something to think about the very next time you find yourself reaching for that singing bottle of rubbing alcohol. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.